So I recently covered Shinola Volume 1 on the channel, and I thought it might be fun today to craft my dream track list for a possible future Shinola Volume 2. And by the way, the art that I'm using is by Jeremy Pruitt, who's the artist of the first Shinola cover, and I'll link his website below. It's not impossible that we actually get a Shinola Volume 2, especially after the Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe proved that the boys are willing to dig into the archives a little bit, which by the way haunts me to this day, that all of those precious Ween tapes are just in a plastic bag sitting on top of each other getting stepped on. I mean, in the liner notes for Paint the Town Brown, Dean talks about the fact that most of the tapes on that album were just sitting in the floor of his car, and that just haunts me every single day. There are literally hundreds of unreleased Ween songs that we know about, and that's not even the tip of the iceberg. Most of them are basically just sitting in a garbage bin, and I toss and turn all night thinking about that. Somebody do something. But like I said in my live albums video, I do think that the two most likely new Ween releases are a Mollusk 30th anniversary and a live compilation, because again, they've done literally hundreds of shows since 2003, and we haven't had them officially released at all, which is a shame. So I do think that those are the two most likely new releases. But again, Shinola Volume 2, not impossible. Dean has said he's been working on it in the past. Of course, that was years and years ago, so who knows. But anyways, today I'm going to make my dream Shinola Volume 2 track list. And I tried to make my list with a certain set of guidelines in mind. First, I tried to make it around the same length as Shinola Volume 1, so 47 minutes over 12 tracks. Tried to make it the same length so that it can fit on a single disc. And that might actually be counterintuitive, because what Ween has proven recently is that if they're going to release something physically, it's going to be a 2 LP set so that people feel like they're getting bang for their buck. But yeah, that's what I'm keeping it to. 47 minutes over 12 tracks, give or take. I'm gonna try to match the length of Shinola Volume 1, because remastering and mixing and sometimes even re-recording these tracks is a huge undertaking, and I think that a single album is a lot less daunting than doing a double album. I mean, the Chocolate and Cheese Deluxe, that disc 2 was, you know, one disc of new material. So if we do get a Shinola Volume 2, I do think that it'll be one disc. Maybe with like a second disc of like demos and stuff, I don't know. But that's generally the guideline I'm following as far as length. Secondly, no Kim Smoltz. Kim Smoltz is one of my favorite Ween tracks of all time, but every Ween fan has already heard Kim Smoltz 1 quadrillion times, and I think it would be a waste of a spot on Shinola Volume 2. Great track, but it's not going on my Shinola Volume 2. Likewise, No Mountains in Buffalo, because that was officially released as a B-side on a single. So I'm gonna try to steer away from, you know, officially released stuff, but I mean, it's not out of the question, right? Because Friends was on Friends and then it was on La Cucaracha. So it could happen, but I'm gonna try to steer away from that as much as possible. So with all that out of the way, let's get into my Shinola Volume 2 track list. First on my track list is Ooh Va La, specifically the heavy sludge version from the Caesar tape, since the electronic like Zolofty version was technically already released on the Japanese version of Quebec. It vaguely fits the taste good on the bun school of starting with a sludgy brown song. It's also sort of food themed, with the lyric, "Cream pie and an apple pie made the composition fun." Now, if you consider pie crust a bun, we might just be looking at the sequel to Taste Good on the Bun. But mostly, I chose this song because I think it's a strong start that'll hook listeners. Also, and this is the most important part, it just straight up rules.
Yeah.
Those who have seen my video on the pod know that I love Little Miss Mandy. Just like Fluffy, it's a touching tribute to a pet that eschews the usual irony of Ween to just appreciate a furry friend. It also fits the niche of Boys Club, following up a heavy brown track with a fun genre parody. And it's just a super funky track with one of their best hooks of all time. It's almost too funky. Like, Glenn is transcending into funk heaven with that synth line. I mean, at least take the keyboard out to dinner first.
I stop to gather berries for my rustic summer kitchen. I eat my little sandwich and it tastes like crap.
Country Cottage is one of my favorite Caesar tracks. It's definitely in the vein of Hey There Fancy Pants, which is why I suspect it was left off Quebec. It even has the happy-sounding song with dark lyrics dynamic going on. But it's a great song. It has one of my favorite Gene lyrics of all time, in the form of "gonna learn to play the flute and kill myself," followed by a flute solo, and for that reason alone, it's gotta be on the list.
And for digging, gonna learn to play the flute and kill myself.
I know it's been a lot of modern Ween tracks so far. I mean, Shinola Volume 1 was mostly comprised of tracks from the late 90s. That said, there will be some older material on my list. But not just yet, because next is... The Final Alarm, specifically the 99 live version, for audio quality. If they have a studio version in the vault, I'd love to hear it, but the 99 live version is good enough to be an album track, in my opinion. This is a classic Ween live staple. It's so heavy and proggy and over the top, and I think fans are clamoring for an official way to listen to it. It's also a Claude track, and he's sung on live albums, but I think it would be fun to hear his vocals on a studio track. I would be very surprised if this song never made it onto a release of any kind. Maybe the Mollusk Deluxe Edition, if that ever happens, but if not, it had to be here somewhere.
Because if God meant for us to be together.
This is a classic Diener ballad, along the lines of She Fucks Me or Sorry Charlie, with one of their best melodies on a non-album track.
I can still taste you, girl. And if you let me rock your world.
This one is constantly in my head. It's a Brown banger. And I think it was about time we put a song from the Brown era on this list, because I really front-loaded this with Quebec, White Pepper, and Mollusk tracks. Love Will Conquer All is on the more well-known side of Ween outtakes. It's bordering on being as mainstream as a Kim Smaltz say, but I think its Brown production has kept it more niche than the composition deserves. Remasters and pitch corrections by Ween fans here on YouTube just reveal the song's true beauty. There are no country tracks on the first Shinola volume, which I feel like was a huge omission. So Long Jerry would also have been a good pick, but I feel like there are too many earnest ballads on this list already, as you'll soon see. I've Got No Dark Side is a fun country barn burner, akin to Booze Me Up and Get Me High, but I think in this era of sobriety, I've Got No Dark Side is a more likely pick for the boys. Does It Turn You On was co-written by Chris Hartford with Diener, so you might see it as an unlikely inclusion, but they've put lots of covers on their live album, so I think it's a possibility. Does It Turn You On strikes me as the Did You See Me of Volume 2. Just a beautiful song with some of the richest production of all time, and I think it's a shame this hasn't been released anywhere officially.
Does it turn you on? Would you hold me tight? Does it turn you on? Does it do you right? She's the best dressed woman that they've ever seen. Coming in night after night.
This is another White Pepper era track, but it's so lo-fi and brown that I think it fills the niche of a Springtheme or a Nan. This is an underrated one for sure, one of Gene's best compositions in my opinion. I love that descending melody, and Dean's guitar work is just so tight.
Should just get you. Should just get you.
I honestly think this one is underheard by a lot of Ween fans. If She'll Just Get You had been on Friends or La Cucaracha, I think it would easily be one of the best songs on that track list. So it earns a spot on this list easily.
Fuck 'em, suck 'em, dick 'em, sick 'em.
This is an underrated pod era track in my opinion. Super heavy bass line, simple refrain, it kind of plays the role of this album's Taste Good on the Bun or Stop, Look, Listen, and Learn. It's also short, which I think will give the listeners a little break after sitting through a couple of longer songs. Long by Ween standards at least. Ween don't often like to revisit the pod era for outtakes, seeing as how so many pod era cassettes have been ripped online, but this is one that's worthy of a cleanup and exposure to a wider audience, I think.
I got no yam today, I'm watching the children play.
Hawakawani Say is one of my favorite outtakes, and it is insane that this was left off La Cucaracha in place of Fruit Man and Spirit Walker. And look, I love those songs too, but come on. If you've never heard the song, do yourself a favor, throw it on the stereo or headphones right now, your mind will be blown. It's such a delicate, peaceful tune, very Mac DeMarco, in the same way that transitions from Volume 1 inspired garage rock 2 era Mac DeMarco. I would not be surprised if Hawakawani Say inspired low-key Here Comes a Cowboy Mac. Especially tracks like Little Dog's March. I mean, listen to that drum part. It's a great song on its own merits, though. It feels very Freeman, a sweet, simple song with just a little bit of Brown thrown in there with Gene's silly little accent. Ambrosia Parsley is next. This works as the Monique the Freak, Prince-inspired track of the album. Man, this thing has a crazy riff, some of Gene's best funk vocals of all time, and it's a fun pick-me-up after the chill-out of the last track. Now, realistically, would Ween put a Prince pastiche on both of their compilation albums? I'm not so sure, but as a mega fan of both Ween and Prince, a boy can dream.
David, I wanna get naked. David, I wanna get naked.
Finally, we have Coco. I put Coco here because I feel like Volume 1 knocked it out of the park by ending with Someday, and I feel like Coco fits that sweet, love-drunk vibe. It's also a likely candidate because it was pretty much fully mixed for the Mollusk, being cut from the track list at a fairly late stage. So I think they probably still have a high-quality master of this to throw on the track list. Again, this might be one that makes its way onto a Mollusk anniversary release, but if they aren't planning on doing that, I absolutely think this one deserves an official release.
My mind is at ease. She knows how to please. I'm weak in the knees. Warm summer breeze.
So yeah, that's my list. To break it down, we've got 1 from the Pod, 1 from Pure Guava, 1 from 12 Golden, 2 from the Mollusk, 3 from White Pepper, 3 from Quebec, and 1 from La Cucaracha. Nothing from Chocolate and Cheese because we just got the deluxe. Nothing from Godween Satan because we did get bonus tracks from that album on the 20th anniversary release of Godween Satan. Though it would be cool to hear The Wind or Fantasy Jam put out officially in some way at some point. If you want to listen to this track list yourself, I'll link a playlist down below so you can give it a listen and let me know. Let me know what you think. And also leave your Shinola Volume 2 predictions or your dream Shinola Volume 2 track list down below, and I'd love to give it a listen. And let me know if you like the style of video, because if so, maybe at some point in the future, I'll make a Shinola Volume 3. Alright, that's it. That's all I got. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Stay brown.